You're planning tomorrow's lesson and you need to introduce some new vocabulary. So you start looking for pictures to put on your slides. It seems like the obvious thing to do, but is it? Hi, I'm Raffaella Manzo, teacher trainer and founder of ProTEFL Institute. On this channel, we explore the classroom decisions behind effective language teaching so you can make more informed and more confident choices in your own lessons. Stay with me until the end because I'll leave you with 3 simple questions you can ask yourself before using pictures to teach vocabulary. They only take a few seconds to answer, but they can completely change the way you plan your next lesson. Using pictures is probably one of the most common techniques for teaching vocabulary. But here's the question I'd like to explore today. When are pictures really the best choice for what you want your learners to understand? Because like every teaching technique, they can be incredibly effective in some situations and much less useful in others. Let's start with the situations where they work particularly well. Suppose you need to teach words such as apple, elephant, nurse, kitchen, bicycle. You could explain each one, you could translate it, or you could show a picture. In this situation, the picture is probably the fastest and clearest option because your learners already know the concept. They already know what an apple is. They do not need you to teach them the object or explain how it works. They simply need to connect a new English label, apple, to a mental representation they already have. That is why pictures can be particularly effective with beginners. A beginner may not have enough English to follow definitions such as an apple is a round fruit which grows on a tree. Words such as round or grow or fruit may themselves be unfamiliar. At that point, your explanation stops being support and starts becoming background noise. A picture removes most of that unnecessary language and gives learners direct access to the basic meaning. The same principle can work with many actions and simple adjectives. Jump, smile, cry, tall, short. When the meaning can be represented clearly, the image can do most of the initial work. Research with lower-level secondary school learners has found that pictures can improve vocabulary learning, particularly with concrete items such as occupations, animals, body parts, and everyday objects. The same study also reported higher attention, participation, and enjoyment. There is another reason to consider them. Some learners process and organize information particularly well through visual and non-verbal representations. Think of a learner who always highlights vocabulary using different colors or draws little sketches in the margin of the notebook. They may struggle to retain a verbal definition, but respond much more strongly when the same idea is connected to an image, a color, a symbol, a diagram. For these learners, a picture gives them another way to organize and retrieve the new language. Or suppose you're teaching places in a town. A list may be difficult to retain. A visual map with a bank, pharmacy, station and town hall located in different places give learners a non-verbal structure that can support both comprehension and recall. So pictures are not useful only because they save you from explaining. They can also give learners a visual route for organizing language. But now consider the word borrow. You find an image showing one person giving a book to another. But what exactly does it represent? Borrow, lend, give, take, return. The image shows the event, but it may not show the relationship clearly enough. Your learners may understand the general situation without understanding the precise meaning of the target word. The same problem appears with emotions. A facial expression intended to represent embarrassed might be interpreted as ashamed, nervous, uncomfortable, shy. Pictures can feel obvious to the teacher who selected them because the teacher already knows the answer. They may be far less obvious to the learners. So ask yourself, is the meaning genuinely visible, or does the picture only make sense because I already know the word? If the image could reasonably produce several answers, it probably needs support from a situation, an example, or a contrast. Now think about, although, despite, seem, manage to, likely, take responsibility. You may be able to find an image related to each one, but related to the meaning is not the same as capable of teaching the meaning. For language like this, a short scenario may be much more useful. For example, the task was difficult, but she finished it. This gives learners a clearer route to manage to than a generic picture of a successful person. A picture may support the context, but it cannot communicate the whole meaning on its own. This is probably the most important limitation. Knowing what a word roughly refers to is only one part of knowing that word. Suppose you show a picture of heavy rain. Your learners immediately understand the idea. They can see that it's raining very heavily. But can the picture tell them that English says heavy rain rather than strong rain? No. The picture communicates the concept. It doesn't communicate the collocation. In other words, learners understand what is happening, but they don't necessarily learn how English normally expresses that idea. Now, again, imagine you want to teach childish and childlike. Both could be represented through an image of an adult behavior associated with children. But one usually carries a negative judgment, while the other can be positive. The picture alone may not communicate that difference. Or consider slim and skinny. Both can refer to a thin person, but they do not necessarily carry the same connotation. The same applies to register. Ask, inquire, help, assist, buy, purchase. A picture may show the general concept, but not whether the item is neutral, formal, informal, approving, or critical. For this kind of lexical knowledge, your learners need context, contrasting example, and information about use. Pictures are particularly strong when you want to establish the basic meaning quickly, introduce concrete nouns, visible actions, or clear adjectives, reduce confusing verbal explanations for beginners, or create a visual memory cue, increasing attention and initial engagement. But you should think twice when you need to teach an abstract relationship, a precise distinction between similar words, a collocation, register, connotation, pragmatic use, or one particular meaning of a polysemous word. For example, a picture of a bank may establish the meaning of the physical place. It will not teach other meanings of bank, as in the bank of a river, or bank the plane to the left. And the picture may show that a shop is open, but it may not help learners understand open in an open question, or open-minded person, an open secret. Once vocabulary becomes polysemous, phrase-dependent, or context-sensitive, pictures need to be combined with other techniques. So should you use pictures to teach vocabulary? Yes, when the image gives your learners clear and efficient access to the aspect of meaning you want to teach. But before choosing one, ask yourself 3 questions. Can this meaning actually be seen? Will learners interpret the picture the way I intend? And am I teaching only the basic concept, or do learners also need to understand how the word behaves and is used? In the next videos, we'll explore many other classroom decisions that can help you teach more effectively, simplify your planning, and become more confident in the choices you make. If that's the kind of professional development you're looking for, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you'd like more resources for English teachers, visit ProTEFLinstitute.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next decision.